Welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam, and if you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, good to see you again. Today is training update day. In today's session, we will be talking about the swim, the bike, and the run, going through how the plan is progressing towards Dorney Lake Triathlon on the 19th of September. We're going to be talking volume versus intensity. We're going to be looking at nutrition, and towards the end of this video, if you stick around, we'll be introducing my co-host Theo for the first time. Before we go into each individual discipline, I wanted to take you through what I mean when I talk about a Garmin training program. So within the Garmin Connect application, you do have inbuilt Garmin training programs. Now they come in two different flavors. You have a coached program and a self-led program. The coach program is actually dynamic. It comes with a coach with pre-recorded video content that adapts to your training and the amount that you follow that plan or miss training workouts or what have you, and it will adjust and give you tips and tricks and motivational videos, and as I say, dynamically change to adapt to the way in which you are following the program. Now, the alternative to that is a self-led program. So within the Garmin Connect application, you can go training plans. As you can see here, I'm following an Olympic Triathlon training program. But if you go find a plan, you can see you've got your Garmin coach plans. So 5K, 10K, half marathon, also a number of cycling options for the coach plan, but there is no triathlon coached plan. So to train for a triathlon utilising the Garmin training program, you'd have to use a self-led plan. And they come in two flavours, either heart rate based, you use a heart rate monitor, or non-heart rate based. And I'm actually using a non-heart rate based. I am leveraging the heart rate monitor stats and the data from my heart rate monitor, but I utilised a heart rate based training program for the marathon, and I found the heart rate component of that quite restrictive. I was pretty unfit at the time, and therefore I'd almost be walking the majority of the training programs. And I absolutely get that that's what you're supposed to do to build up your aerobic base, but it didn't feel like I was doing enough. So I switched to a non-heart rate monitor based training program and actually found it a lot better. And I sort of feel like I've pushed through that now. So I'm following a non-heart rate based Olympic Triathlon program. Now, it says 4 days a week. When you go in and configure this, it gives you the options to allocate the days that you can and cannot do. I keep it relatively dynamic in the way that I use it. So within the plan itself, it will give you a breakdown of exactly what those workouts are. It will also send those workouts to your watch based on the calendar in the application. And every single day when you go into run, if it's a run training day, it will have that workout available, and it will allow you to automatically start that workout, and then it will change in terms of laps and alerts according to the plan that's built into the program. Now, within the Garmin calendar, as you can see here, if I unselect my training within the calendar itself, you'll be able to see the individual training workouts that are part of that program. Now, I use it relatively fluid in terms of today, as an example, I swam. I'm not going to have time to do that build run, so I will then move that build run to tomorrow, and I will still get that done this week. But including my actual workouts as well, I can see that on average I am getting out at the moment about 5 times a week on average. Now that is more than the training program suggests I should be, but I am, as I will talk about a little bit later, introducing a bit more swimming than I was supposed to, and getting out and just doing a lot more easy running, because that's only beneficial as far as I'm concerned. The more aerobic base I can build, the easier I'm going to find the program. It was always going to be difficult with a new baby, finding the time to dedicate to this, which is why it's an experiment, right? But as it stands, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock most days, and then entertaining Theo from 5 until I start work at 9, half 8, 9. I'm then working, And once I finish work, ideally we need to get into bedtime motions and routines. So we're having dinner, we're bathing Theo, and we're trying to get to bed as early as we possibly can so that we can get up at 5 o'clock the following morning and start it all over again. I'm absolutely in no position to complain because my partner is up literally from 11:30 midnight when we go to bed all through until 5 o'clock. She gets the opportunity to sleep a short period between 5 and 8:30, and in all honesty rarely gets the opportunity to actually get that sleep during that period. So I'm in absolutely no position to complain. She's also threatened me, for all of you out there who are going to bear witness to this, she has threatened to set up a competing YouTube channel called Calling Out Enduring Daddy to call me out every time I complain about the little amount of sleep I'm getting. So I'm not complaining, I'm just saying, as it stands, I do feel that having a reduced amount of sleep, once again, I'm not complaining, I do feel like having a reduced amount of sleep, as you can see here, going down from an average of about 7.5 hours to more like 5.5 hours a night, has impacted my recovery. And obviously, as I'm starting to ramp up the volume and the intensity of those workouts, that is going to have a detrimental effect. And I absolutely always expected it to. And this was always part of the plan. I knew full well that I wasn't going to be getting as much sleep as I perhaps would have. And I still needed to try and ramp up as much as I possibly could before the race. So it's going to be interesting to see as we move towards that taper phase, a week, 2 weeks out before the race, what impact that's going to have when I'm not recovering from quite so much intensity and volume, but still need to try and get that recuperation before race day. So from an individual discipline standpoint, as it stands, as I said before, the biggest concern for me is probably the swim. The swim has really been taking priority in my program of late, and that is outside of the Garmin led program. It is largely because it's the weakest discipline out of the three, and it's the most daunting out of the three. So as it stands, trying to get in twice, if not 3 times weekly pool swims, and this Sunday will be the first time I get a lake swim in about 6 months, which is worrying considering it's 4 weeks to race day and the swim is in a lake, and I've only been swimming in pools recently. So the swim is the biggest concern. I just did 200 meters breast and then 1500 meters front crawl with about between 20 and 40 second breaks between every 100 to 150 meter split, and it felt alright. It felt pretty good. The whole session ran for about 50 minutes, just shy, so I'd love to be able to do the swim in 45 minutes, and I'm not going to break my back to do it any faster than that. I'm not racing for time, I'm racing to just complete the race and ultimately use it as a warm-up for potentially longer distance races in the future. I'm going to be honest, the bike component is probably my least favourite component of this training program. For whatever reason, I find it really difficult to motivate myself to get out on the bike. I find it easier getting to the pool, and that surprises me considering swimming is my least capable discipline. It may well have something to do with the fact that, to be completely honest with you, my bike has never felt absolutely perfect. It's been in for a service a couple of times, and I don't know whether it's just because I'm really pernickety and I'm really precious about rattles and shakes and scrapes, but my bike's just never felt quite as smooth and clean as I'd hoped it would. So perhaps one day I'll invest in a new bike, but for now it's going to have to do. I've tweaked it to the best I can, and I think it's just about ready for 4 weeks time. Now, as the race at Dorney is primarily flat, there isn't any sort of technical components to it. I haven't been doing much in the way of trail running or off-road running or a huge amount of hill training. I've been primarily focused on just getting the miles in, and running an easy 5k at lunchtime is one way to do that. So my lunchtimes at work primarily consist of running and getting to the pool, smash out about 1500 metre, 1700 metre swim, because the bike just requires so much more time. Now, in an earlier video, I talked about headphones and running with versus running without music. So this is the run where I'm first trying out running without music. It's an easy 5k at lunchtime, and to be honest, so far it's going pretty well. I feel pretty good, I'm finding it pretty easy. Now, it may not sound like it, because no matter how easy I find it, I'm not the fittest person in the world, but fortunate to, I'm about to get run over by a lorry, fortunate to how fit I was 2 years ago, this is a breeze. The bulk of my workouts I'm trying to get in during lunch breaks while I'm working. So I'll run down to the pool, smash out about 35 minutes in the pool, and then get back before I need to jump onto another meeting or conference call. I'm running, so 5Ks or progression runs or intervals. I can get into that hour period quite comfortably. The bike is always a longer requirement in terms of volume, and as such I do feel like that is neglected to a certain extent. But Dorney Lake is completely flat, and I don't feel like I'm actually going to be missing out on a huge amount if I'm just able to sit at 15, 16 miles an hour comfortably for 40 odd Ks. So I think the focus on the running in terms of maintaining that volume, maintaining that ability to run 10k with tired legs, and I am still including a number of brick sessions. Every other week there is a brick session, so a bike run session where I'll do an hour plus on the bike. I'll get back, jump off the bike, chuck my running gear on, and then go out and run a 5k straight off the bat. That feels good. It feels really, really comfortable. I haven't had the opportunity to, and I think in most instances people struggle to find the opportunity to try swim, bike. If I do a longer course triathlon at some point in the future, I will probably try and introduce that. So I'll take my bike over to the lake and cycle back from the lake home, perhaps. But as it stands with this particular race coming up in 4 weeks' time, I haven't had the opportunity to introduce that type of transition as yet. There's also a number of questions that I still have about the race. I got an email today saying the race packs are being sent out, and that will include all of the relevant information around check-in, around bike drop, around transitions, but there's still a lot of unknowns, and I'm excited. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think the unknowns add a lot to that anticipation. Let's have a look at some of the individual disciplines and some of the questions I've got around those individual disciplines that perhaps you guys can answer in the comments below. One thing I'm having real difficulty with is my goggles. I can't seem to find a pair of goggles that don't steam up after about 400 metres. So how I'm going to swim 1500 metres and not be able to see anything is slightly concerning. So any suggestions, any advice on what goggles to use, please stick it in the comments below. Any advice on how to prevent any old goggles from steaming up, please stick it in the comments below. Really appreciate the feedback. From a bike standpoint, there are a number of things that I don't know. Am I required to take puncture repair equipment just in case I get a puncture on the cycle? Or are there cars or marshals, or how does that work? I haven't got a clue. The other question I have is, should I invest in some tri-bars, some clip-on tri-bars? Now, I've read multiple opinions on this. I have tried leaning on my handlebars with my forearms, and actually it feels quite comfortable, with the exception of the fact that my forearm's leaning on a bare metal bar, but nonetheless, is it worthwhile for my first triathlon? And if so, which one should I buy? Socks? Is it worth going for socks? Should I put socks on before the bike and leave them on for the run? Should I leave socks for the run and not wear them on the bike? So I hope that gives you some insight into the training plans available within the Garmin Connect platform. And I hope that gives you some insight into my training to date and how I'm progressing against utilising that training program from the Garmin Connect platform. Sorry mate, hang on 2 seconds, slightly short of this co-host. So this is Theo, this is my 8-week-old son. He's going to be starring in some of the videos specifically around some of his kit and some of the products that we're using to keep him occupied, not too dissimilar to the baby sensory video that I have playing on my laptop to keep him calm right now. I'm really keen to hear your feedback on the questions I asked regarding the 3 disciplines and some of the details around races and what to expect and what I need and what I don't need, etc. You're being so good, aren't you? You're such a good boy. Do you want to be Theodore on the show, or do you want to be Theo? What do you fancy being? You just want to look at your dancing bananas, don't you? Baby sensory, the best bribe. Please do subscribe and like this video. If you're interested in a bit more detail around the Garmin Connect platform and the Garmin Fenix 6 specifically, I'll post that video up here now. If you want to know where the journey began and have a look at my introduction video, I'll post that up here. And someone's been giving me quite a lot of grief in the way that I'm ending my videos. Apparently a 2 thumbs up move looks like something out of Evan Almighty. So until next time, that's how the cookie crumbles.